Hello everybody, welcome to the new series of the True Start Location Large European, series, where we play as Carthage. This has been voted in by you guys in the last straw poll for the last video in the Civilization 5 series. So let's go ahead and go over how we're setting up this current game. So we're playing on the True Start Location mod, which is yet not another Earth map pack in the advanced setup of this mod pack itself. So we've chosen to play on the large European map, which actually encompasses the Middle East, Russian Asia, and North Africa. So we will be playing on Emperor, and if we beat this like single-handedly without any, hardship whatsoever, on the next series we will bump it up to Immortal and then maybe even to Deity. So we've chosen Epic as the game pace, as this allows us to explore more of each era. And of course, the rest of this is fairly standard. We're starting the ancient eras with city-states and their historical location, all victory types minus the time-based victory, and the Bosphorus trade is a sea. We, of course, have true geographical resource placement, which means that there is wine in France and elephants in Africa. You get the gist. The rest of this is fairly standard. We've allowed policy saving and promotion saving, and the rest of this, again, is fairly self-explanatory. So, so far as the civs that we are playing with in this series, of course, we have a mix of European and Middle Eastern civilizations. We are going to be playing as Carthage, the Phoenician colony, and we are going to be flanked on all sides. On the west, we have Morocco. On the east, we have Egypt, the Ottomans, Assyria, and Babylon. And in the north, we have Rome, of course, our historical arch nemesis. So let's go ahead and get started. And actually, once we start on this screen real quick, I'm going to let him speak as he will narrate our history.
Blessings and salutations to you, revered Queen Dido, founder of the legendary kingdom of Carthage. Chronicled by the words of the great poet Virgil, your husband, Asabas, was murdered at the hands of your own brother, King Pygmalion of Tyre, who subsequently claimed the treasures of Asabas that were now rightfully yours. Fearing the lengths from which your brother would pursue this vast wealth, you and your compatriots sailed for new lands. Arriving on the shores of North Africa, you tricked the local king with the simple manipulation of an ox hide, laying out a vast expanse of territory for your new home, the future kingdom of Carthage.
Awesome. I love that voiceover. It really gets us into the mood here. So, right away from the very start, we're going to be founding our city, of course, and the historical location of Carthage in modern-day Tunisia. And our start is not too bad. It could be a lot worse, of course. We do have a river that is running through our capital and easy access to bison very early on, which is fantastic. So we are going to go ahead and explore in the immediate vicinity of the city of Carthage, of course, utilizing the early scout technique of making a scout first and then finding rather ancient ruins. So I'm going to go over a little bit of the history of Carthage, as this is a particular civilization that interests me greatly. It is a civilization that I've researched quite extensively, as Phoenician culture and history is simply amazing. I mean, it's very interesting, and it's a culture that is often overlooked for that of its more well-known rival, that of Rome. So before we begin, we are going to want to focus on ironworking to grab the Colossus early on, as we are a mercantile and commercial-based civilization. Of course, we will vie against Rome for trade in the Mediterranean. So Colossus is going to be a really good choice for us. But before we get to bronzeworking and even mining, we need to take writing, as this is important for a few different reasons. I like to get the early science boost of making a library, and this is almost always the path that I take when I start my games. So basically, after we take writing, there's going to be several other focuses that we need to take. We need to take trapping, for instance, to take the bison. We need optics for the Great Lighthouse and for our Quinquereme, which is our, special ship that we get in the ancient era. And of course, ironworking later on, not only for bronzeworking and mining, but for the Colossus, like I've said earlier. So let's go ahead and continue right where we left off. And while I scout, I'm going to talk a little bit about why I selected Carthage and kind of like the interesting history behind this particular civilization. Now, if you guys remember from the very beginning of this episode, when James Earl Jones, or whatever the guy, the guy who narrated the little voiceover part of this. He was talking about Carthage, and he was talking about how they were Phoenician colonists. Actually, originally he didn't say that they were from originally from Tyre, but they were. Tyre, of course, north of modern-day Israel, I believe in modern-day Syria or Lebanon. I'm not exactly 100% sure on that, to be honest. But anyways, interesting story is that they came from Tyre, and they were trying to settle some trading posts in the, what they consider to be the Western Mediterranean, of course. Anything west of the Levantine region is, of course, west to them, relatively speaking. So they wanted to come over here to trade, really. And to that end, like they said earlier, with Queen Dido and her colonists, they've arrived basically outside of this area of kind of like the middle Mediterranean, of course, southwest of Sicily and Rome. And here they came across some petty kingdoms that they wanted to exploit. And to this end, they've exploited them quite brilliantly, actually. And I'm going to get in that here in a second. Of course, if you guys remember from the voiceover, he's talking about the manipulation of an ox hide. And this is something that's very fascinating for a few different reasons, actually. And I'll get into that in just a second. But first, we have another option here. We could go with another scout, which would increase our capabilities of finding some more ancient ruins. Or we could go with a settler or a worker, as I never choose monuments because we will be going tradition, which gives us free monuments in all of our cities. So I think at this point, it might be worth it for us to, perhaps rush another scout. There's really a variety of different things we do here. I'm going to rush another scout. We're going to go scout, scout, maybe granary, and then library afterwards. So anyways, continuing on with the story, the manipulation of an ox hide. So anyways, they brought an ox hide with them, and they told the local, people, or rather the local petty king of this area of northern Africa, of course modern-day Tunisia, they said that the size of this ox hide that we are about to give you is, we will pay you, basically, in exchange for land equidistant to the size of this ox hide. And hey, the local petty king, he's like, hey, that's a great deal. This ox hide is really tiny. These guys are only going to get like a, 1 inch by 1 inch plot of land. That's a really good deal for us. Let's go for it. Let's trade with these guys. What could we possibly lose here? But they could lose a lot, actually, because quite interestingly enough, okay, so we've researched pottery very fast, not to interrupt my narrative here. Of course, for those of you who are returning subscribers, you guys know that I'm prone to perhaps ranting on and on in my series. This is something that I consider to be fun. I like to do it. But anyways, we came into contact with Egypt. Anyways, let's continue on with our rant. So this ox hide that they brought with them, they convinced the local leaders, or I guess the local king, or whatever he was, that the size of land that they wanted was only equal to that of the ox hide. And, like I said, that was a very easy deal for the local leaders to accept. They're like, hey, this ox hide's small. That's a lot of land that we can end up getting. And you know what? Or rather, a lot of money that we can end up getting. And you know what? Dido was brilliant. And not just Dido, her compatriots, her companions, her fellow colonists. What they devised was to cut this little slice of ox hide, or rather this ox hide, into very small slices, very, very small slices, like the thinnest slice you could possibly make, right? Anyways, we have taken culture, right? So tradition, just like so. If you guys are new to civilization, I do apologize. I'm going to be pretty fast on the uptake here. So anyways, this ox hide was a very small ox hide, but they cut it into very, very, not infinitely small pieces, but very, very small pieces, of kind of like, what's the word? Of like fibers, like oxhide fibers. That's a good way of saying it. And using these oxhide fibers, they basically cut them so tiny with their width, like the width of the oxhide was just so small that they were able to lay these little strands of oxhide. Really, at this point, they're just like little threads of oxhide around the actual borders of the area that would become Carthage. Of course, you guys can't see my mouse cursor because I'm using NVIDIA Shadowplay, right? It's a good program, but we have this problem with the mouse cursor. But you guys see where Carthage is right now. Basically, this little oxhide that was split into little fibers and enveloped the modern day, or not modern day, because Carthage was destroyed. but enveloped the border of the city that would become Carthage, and really it was quite brilliant, you know, like that was just an insanely brilliant move on the part of the Phoenicians. And of course, when I refer to the Phoenicians, I'm not referring to the Carthaginians. Of course, the Carthaginians were a Phoenician people. They were part of the Punic culture. And whenever I refer to Punic, it literally just means that relating to Phoenicia or to Carthage, because Carthage itself is Phoenician. So before I lose you guys in confusion here, that's what they meant by the ox hide, little trick at the very beginning of this particular series. Really, really interesting. That I consider it to be incredibly interesting that they were able to do this. But, you know, it's a very interesting culture, as this culture really comes from modern-day Middle East, of course, modern-day Lebanon, and modern-day Syria. It's a very, I guess, foreign culture to the Mediterranean, the culture in which they found themselves supplanted in. But again, this is a culture that was incredibly mercantile, incredibly, you know, they were very interested in trade, in trading with foreign civilizations. Of course, Carthage itself wanted to be the preeminent trading power in the Mediterranean, but they lost out from this to the Romans, which is, again, not too much of a surprise, considering nobody really knows too much about the Carthaginian people. It was a history that was largely wiped out by the invading Latin Roman culture, and in fact, the Greco-Roman world in general. So, before we get carried away in the rants here, let's talk about what's going on here in gameplay-wise. We have lucked out. We've gotten 2 technologies, really, really lucky from the ancient ruins, and we're going to continue to look for even more if we can. In fact, we have just stumbled across another ancient ruins, which upgraded our men into an archer unit, which is fantastic. You know, we trained 2 scouts, and these 2 scouts have become archers. Really, you couldn't really ask for a better start, even if you tried to. So, we're going to continue to scout around the territory over here. Of course, we're going to be nearing Morocco really, really soon. And once we near Morocco, of course, we'll be nearing the Atlas Mountains. So it'll be harder for us to traverse this area in the beginning. And I might have just fucked up, actually. I've sent my archer to his certain doom out here next to this warrior encampment. We will see, of course, if he survives. I'm guessing probably not, but we will see. You never know. Whilst we move our men closer and closer to the west. So, with that being said, Carthaginian culture was largely erased by the Roman invading, or the Latin culture that came with Rome when Rome rose to preeminence. And a few of you might know of the war that basically wiped out Carthage. They were in fact called the Punic Wars. There were 3 of them: the first, second, and third Punic War. We are not going to accept that trade. That's awful. But anyways. Remember, Punic, it's a word that refers to Phoenician culture, or rather, I guess in this particular example, refers to Carthaginian culture. So, as I take my first cultural tenant here, and we are bombarded by barbarians. What was I saying? I almost lost myself here. Oh, right. So, Phoenician culture. Very, very interesting. It was wiped out by the Romans in the Third Punic War. Of course, the First, Second, and Third Punic War cemented Roman preeminence and dominance, really, in the Mediterranean basin, and really just the Mediterranean world, which is bad news for Carthage, as Carthage was never really able to recover from the defeats of the First and Second Punic Wars. Of course, in the Third Punic Wars, it was too late, and they were wiped out completely once the Romans sieged the city of Carthage and literally burned it to the ground. There's nothing left, really, of Carthaginian culture to this day. There are ruins in Tunisia, but the Romans were very successful at burning down the city, and really, the history books were erased with any mention of Carthage, as they were the enemy of Rome, and thus were not worth preserving. So, let's see. We have writing. We have sailing. What we need now is to work perhaps on traps, because we need to construct a camp for our luxury resources, but we also need to work in ironworking. So let's go ahead and work down the trapping line, just so that we can improve our happiness situation, so to speak, and then we'll work on the rest as we get there. So, again, First, Second, Third Punic Wars. Oh, cool, we just got a faith thingamajiggy. 29 faith is needed for the next Pantheon. That's fine. We can wait. Let's go ahead and go over here where we found the Biter crater. Cool. What does this do exactly? Gives us science and gold. Well, I don't think it's worth sending a colonist over here. If I haven't mentioned previously, Carthage actually gets a free harbor, which is great. It, of course, allows you to form city connections, produce extra money with trade routes, and increases the range of trade routes. So that's very, very nice. As for the Pantheon that we're about to select, that is complicated because there are a lot of good Pantheons for Carthage. But let's go ahead and survey our current situation so that way we can better adapt to potential Pantheons that we need. So, right. We are a coastal-based civilization, but we lack any coastal-based resources, so that Pantheon would probably be pretty bad. Let's go take a quick look at them so you guys can get a good idea of what to see here. We could take the faith from desert tiles, but again, we're going to be avoiding really the desert because we're going to be colonizing the coastline over here in the Mediterranean. So let's see. We could take... No... God of War, that's pretty good. Happiness. You know, +2 science in cities with a city connection, that's pretty good. Because this way, the next city that we found will be connected to our city by vis-a-vis a harbor. So that could be a really good early science boost. But there might be better. Let's see. For each gold and silver, we don't really have a lot of those. Gems and pearls, not a lot of those either. What about wine? Is there anything for wine? Because I noticed that we have a shitload of, cotton, sorry. Of plantations, I guess. Is there anything for that? Not that I see. So you know what we're going to select? We're going to select Messenger of the Gods. I think this is pretty good. Again, this will give us an immediate +2 science once we connect Carthage with our second city. So we're going to take that. That's really, really, really good. And let's go and continue. So earlier you guys probably saw I lost my archer. That was a bit of a blunder. But, you know, I make mistakes occasionally. I don't claim to be a perfect player. You know, again, I'm not Marbozer. You know, you can watch him if you really want the really in-depth strategies. I'm just playing to have fun. And really, this mod really looks like a lot of fun. So to that end, I hope you guys enjoy this as I kind of blather on about history and a little bit about game tactics. Of course, for those of you who have seen me play Civilizations before, you know that I rush tradition. I'm a stiffler for tradition. I know that sometimes maybe it's better for us to go liberty, but I never do that. So, options. We could either take a settler or a library. Can't take both. I'm really tempted to go down here so we can absorb all of these cotton resources and the furs. It's really nice if we go down there. You know what? Let's go ahead and do a early game settler, and of course shifting our focus to production as population is irrelevant because we are creating a settler. And then after we make a settler, we can go ahead and work on a library and do all that other fun stuff. Yeah, so I'll get into that here in a minute. We're taking yet another ancient ruins, which gives us another population boost, which is really great. I mean, we are ahead of the game here, actually. I think, you know, for the most part. So again, we are just going to kind of walk around the Saharan desert over here. Hopefully, our men don't succumb to you know, heat strokes or dehydration. I think they'll be okay. They're a hardy bunch of Phoenician units and soldiers. And of course, once we get closer to the settler being made, we will send our troops back up to the north so that we can accompany this settler so he's not destroyed by all the barbarians that seem to be, you know, out in numbers. So we're about to come across Morocco here in just a minute, which is pretty cool. No complaints there. Of course, this will also open up the Iberian coastline here in a minute as we head west and west. And pretty soon I might actually have to want to sit back my warrior. Not quite yet, but soon enough, you know. So we're getting really close to the African coastline, just like I said earlier. Let's go ahead and send back our warrior. And I can't wait. And so, ooh, look at Marrakesh. Very, very small city. It looks like they might have rushed a settler. Although I can't say that with 100% certainty. This fucking asshole warrior is blocking my way up to the north. What a douchebag. I'm just trying to get back up to Carthage, damn it. But this guy is just like, he's cock blocking my way back, you know? It's really annoying. So we're gonna get around him somehow. I don't really... God, it's like so slow getting around this guy. Such a douche, really. And we are going to come into conflict once again with the Moroccans, the Egyptians, and really a lot of others. I think this gave us culture, so we're going to take legalism, which gives us a free, another free building. So, you know, I'm just going to attack this guy. This guy's being a dick. He's blocking my moves. We should just go ahead and, you know, wipe him off the earth. If you go back now to Carthage, take a look. We got 2 free cities, a free monument, and a free harbor. That's pretty great. No upkeep from any of those cities, which is fantastic. You know, I'm just going to actually deuce this guy. You know, we're just going to continue onwards. We'll keep our archer down here to kind of scout around, just to see what we can find down here. And would you just fuck off kindly? Shit, this guy's really busting my balls down here. Really just trying to get past to my home, man. Just let me home. So again, nothing really to report over here. And look at this guy. He brought in his friends. What a douchebag. So we're just gonna do that. That's fine. And try to find some ruins down here in the south. You would think that we'd find some ruins down here, but apparently not. In fact, this is the end of the map. So let's go back to the east. And dude, you're like, fuck you, man. We'll get back there eventually. Let's go and accept the embassy from Egypt to see how big their capital is. It's a capital 5, just like ours, which isn't so bad. It's actually pretty good, to be honest. 2 things. If I were to attack him and take over, I risk taking out the ire of this encampment that's nearby. So we're just going to opt to instead heal up our unit. It's a conservative answer, our solution, I should say. And look at this. He's bringing in his friends. What a dick. We gotta help out this unit down here. It's just under attack over here. And we're going to kind of bombard him while moving around. I can't really move the settler just yet because there's a barbarian brute that's guarding the path, as you guys can see. So we're going to leave him in the Carthaginian city of Carthage. It's a bit redundant, but it's how I roll. So let's go ahead and end the turn and be very cognizant of the fact that there is a barbarian brute right outside the gates of our city. Very, very annoying. But it is what it is. We are going to opt for the shock promotion as all of our combat is taking place in the Saharan Desert, itself a very, very flat locale. So that makes sense. And after we take trapping, this will mean that we can take those lucrative bison and furs outside of our city. Let's go ahead and do something a little bit more useful, like, for instance, mining. This will allow us to take ironworking, which will in turn allow us to take the wonder that we so desperately need. Oh my fucking god. Would you look at this? I can't get any peace, respite at all over here. We're gonna get fucked up, in fact, gangbanged by a menage a trois of barbarian brutes. You know, there are worse fates, but this is like pretty close to the worst fate. I can't imagine taking an axe up the ass in 3 different directions would be that pleasant. So really, guys, I can't really do anything. If I attack this guy, they're both going to kill me. If I stay where I am, they're both going to kill me. Let's just Braveheart it and attack this guy over here and show him who's boss. But again, they're going to kill us next turn. Whatever, you know, it is what it is. Maybe we can afford to, okay, we can afford to make either a Quenkareem or a warrior. But at this point, it might make more sense for us to actually make a warrior, considering we don't even have a military unit over here to defend our settlers. So we're going to do that immediately and end our turn. And then now we can go ahead and start kind of going closer and closer to the Libyan coastline and take out this guy over here. I don't want to bombard him. We can instead use our warrior to do that, and then move this guy over here. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Just what I wanted, really. Gotta love barbarians. They're so, so annoying. So I don't really think there's going to be too much in the way of... Ooh, cool. That increases our relations with Valletta. That's nice. There's not going to be too much in the way of barbarian, or rather ancient ruins over here, just because Marrakesh is really close by. And if we go to the east, we're going to bump heads in with Egypt. So I'm going to kind of slowly make our way to the east over here and see if we can't find a good location. Of course, over here we are going to opt to colonize right on this tile over here. I know you guys can see my cursor. It's between the 2 cotton resources. And I think this is still in modern-day Tunisia, and if not, it's very close to Libya. In fact, Carthage controlled most of modern-day Libya in their prime. And look at Rabat. Morocco has opted to make a little oasis town with some copper resources, which is, good for them, right? We don't really care. So again, getting closer and closer to settling our first city, which I'm pretty excited for, actually. It's going to be a lot of fun. Getting closer and closer. Let's go ahead and set you there. That way, next turn, we can go ahead and pop the city down. I don't listen to any of my advisors. Shut the fuck up. Next turn. And for our first city, it's going to be called Utique, I believe. This is not my first time playing Carthage. Right here. Cool. And look at this. It's just surrounded by cotton. What a great location. Really, really nice. We're going to go ahead and work on making a worker, actually, to continue the redundant meme that we're going with here. Carthaginian Carthage, working worker. You get the idea. But anyways, we've taken mining, which is great. Ironworking would take a while, I believe. Let's go and take a look. We have to first take bronze working. And honestly, it might behoove us to take calendar so we can work the plantations. But for the time being, fuck that. We don't really care about it. Let's go on to bronze working. This will reveal iron resources, which is super, super good. Definitely something that we would need. And for a while, we're just going to be ending our turn as we stake out the future of our empire here. And we are going to heal up our warrior and attack this barbarian encampment over here to the west, right next to the source of ivory. And we're going to poach the crap out of that elephant. I know a lot of you guys, really care about elephants, or at least you care about tigers. There's like that tiger that died not too long ago. Some like European or Asian dude went and killed him and took a picture, and everybody was really upset. And it's like, dude, it's just a tiger. Come on, man. People die. Dolphins die. When tigers die, why does everybody get upset, man? Dolphins are so much cooler animals. They're more intelligent, and the Japanese are just slaughtering them in full numbers. They're back in Taji. Really, it's, I don't know. I guess some people feel a certain affinity towards their animal or their spirit animal or whatever. If you guys feel that way, please let me know. Right, so next production, what should we do? I'm going to opt for the Quencarim, as this will allow us to scout a little bit in the Mediterranean. It's a pretty good idea, I think, while we move our archer to the east. Very, very nice. Check our score. Of course, we're on the lowest. We are an emperor, which means that most of the AI will get bonuses. And they're not too good bonuses. I mean, it's nothing like, let's say, deity, but it's still substantial. It's still like cheating, This is a game, Civilization, it's a game where to improve the AI's ability, it's not so much to just improve the basic programming. It's basically just to give them cheats, as this game is a bit old. I believe it was developed 4 or 5 years ago. So, these AI, they're really not playing with a full deck of cards, so to speak. They're slow. They don't really react well to human strategies. So really to buff them up, Firaxis decided to just basically cheat and give them, say, free technologies, a worker, some bonus warriors, just a lot of stuff like that at the beginning of the game to beef them up. So immediately we are in a problem because this barbarian encampment has spawned a spearman. We're going to stand our ground for the time being, but then we're going to run away to bring them back over to Carthage and Utique, where we can bombard them. So we can get another policy. I'm going to take monarchy just to boost up our happiness a little bit. That way we can still grow our cities, everything like that. And for the next technology, I really want ironworking, but it's a bit far away from where we are right now. So instead, let's go ahead and opt for optics, as this will allow us to make the Great Lighthouse, which is also a very good wonder. So again, we are making our way over there, and we do want naval dominance. That is something that Carthage is all about. We're all about the trade. We're all about the naval dominance. It is basically in our DNA to desire these things. So again, we are just scouting out the fog of war over here, southwest of Utique, and close to this rebel encampment right here. And we're doing a pretty good job just staying and defending. And now we've even got a quinquereme, which is great. We're going to go ahead and kind of search out for the Mediterranean islands. Of course, Corsica and Sardinia to our north were both historical locations of Carthaginian colonies. I'm not sure if we are going to colonize those areas. In particular, we'll take a look to see what the resource location is over there. In 10 turns, we get optics, so let's make something that's less than 10 turns. I'm going to opt for... Maybe another worker would be good, or at least another warrior, maybe. You know what? Let's roll with another worker. We're going to need more than 2 workers anyways, so that's good. Why not, really? I don't really want to, we've already got a library, we've already got a granary, we've already got a harbor. We don't need any more buildings, and I never really played the religious game anyways, so that's fine. That being said, the quinquereme should discover Sicily here in a minute, right here. And Carthage actually had a colony over here in western Sicily called Lilybom. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that because it doesn't look like Sicily has that many luxury resources, so we're going to kind of skip out on that. But it's worth noting that that is, in fact, a historical location of a colony. And we've already ran into Greece. Look at that. That was really fast. Again, not too surprising. Greece has historically colonized eastern Sicily and southern Italy in the past. Of course, the most prevalent, I guess, example that I can note is the city-state of Syracuse, which is actually, it is a city in New York State, but it was before then, it was a Greek colony in Sicily. So I ran away from the encampment over here because there was a hand axe, there was a archer, and there was a warrior. I didn't want to fuck with fate a little bit. And we actually already run into Rome. Speaking of fucking with fate, who is our arch nemesis? We are going to really screw over Rome as much as we can here in the future. While also running away from that hand axe is kind of scary. And attacking him a little bit. That's fine. Can we perhaps get open borders through Rome? That could be pretty cool. That would require what? Let's see. That would require an embassy and civil service. So fuck that. We're not doing that. And we can't really get too much vision on the Sardinian island to our north. So we'll do that in the next episode, guys. I hope you really enjoyed the first episode of True Start Location Carthage. I'm having a blast. This is a really cool series. Of course, any excuse to play as Carthage is worth taking. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for the next one. It's going to be great. And the next episode will be out very soon. So, again, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Take care.